What's up guys, welcome to another Bluetooth video. Today is a slightly different video. There will be a transfer talk coming out later today, so don't worry about that. But since the Premier League season is starting in just a few days, I thought I'd talk about Fantasy Premier League a little bit and just open a league, ask you guys to join me and show you my team, and it'll be great fun. So how do you firstly make a Fantasy Premier League? Well, you want to make an account in PremierLeague.com first. I've already made an account, but it'll be pretty straightforward. Afterwards, just click this little button in the top right corner here, which says Fantasy Premier League. And my internet is really slow, but it's loading. There we go. And here is my account. Now, I can go on Pick Team, and let's see. And there's the team that I've picked, but just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go into transfers. You can still see my team. So what you get is £100 million to spend on whichever players you want. It has to be a combination of 15 players from multiple teams. As it says here, you can only select a maximum of 3 players from a single team, so you can't just build a Chelsea team or just build a whatever team. You got to have some variety in there. So let me talk you through my team. So firstly, goalkeepers. You guys may be wondering why I picked Petr Cech, and I'll show you guys the prices here. Petr Cech was £5.5 million. De Gea is £5.5 million. Courtois is £5.5 million. So you may be wondering why I picked Cech over Courtois if they're the same price. Well, the reason for that is because Chelsea in general haven't looked very defensively stable throughout this entire preseason. And I guess just our Community Shield game against Arsenal just kind of confirmed for me that Cech is the right player to go with, at least for the first month or two of Fantasy Premier League. By the way, you can always make one free transfer every single week. You can always make a free transfer every single week. So I can change Cech, if I decide that Courtois is the best player. But that's my first choice goalkeeper. And as my second keeper, I just went to the cheapest goalkeepers and picked Schwarzer because he's got the highest number of points. Moving on to the defense, I'm going to go from left to right on all of my positions. So we begin with Jose Fonte, and as you'll notice, I have 3 Southampton players in my team. And that's because I think Southampton are going to do really, really well for the first 1 or 2 months of the Premier League. They're going to get off to a flying start, in my opinion, similarly to last season. So I picked 3 Southampton players, and of course, I think it was last season or the season before that, Southampton had one of the best defensive records in the Premier League, and they're really, really impressive, which is why I picked Jose Fonte. I'm confident he's going to play lots of games for Southampton. He might get the odd goal every now and then, but as you can see, he got 139 points last season, and he's right here. Yeah, he's right here. Jose Fonte, 5.5. It's a decent, price for him, so I picked him. And my second defender is obviously John Terry, and as you can see, John Terry was the second highest. Sorry, he was the second highest scoring or highest pointing defender last season, and first was Ivanovic. So you may be wondering why I didn't pick Ivanovic, because they're the same price. Well, because Ivanovic's position for me is coming under a little bit of doubt this season. I'm confident that he's going to start most of the games, but I think that John Terry will start every single game, like last season, if he's not injured or suspended. But Ivanovic, with Baba Rahman coming in, it could add a bit more competition for that position. Because then Azpilicueta could move to the right, Baba Rahman slots him to the left, and where does Ivanovic go? And also, Gary Cahill, he's £6.5 million. The reason I didn't put him on was because of the whole John Stones situation. Are we going to get another central defender? If we do, what happens to Gary Cahill? I think John Terry, because he's the captain of our team, because he's the spine of our team, I think he's not going to, skip a lot of games, or maybe not at all like last season, which is why I picked John Terry over Gary Cahill. Third defender, Koscielny. And you can kind of see from my team that I think Arsenal are going to do pretty well, at least for the first few months. They do have a history of performing really, really well up until Christmas, and then just failing from then. But the reason I picked Koscielny was Arsenal have always been a defensively solid side for the last 2-3 seasons. They've consistently shown that they can defend. Maybe not that, but that they're pretty good defense-wise, and I do think they're gonna keep a few clean sheets, and which is why I put Koscielny there. And of course, Czech, Koscielny. I think their defense in general is gonna be pretty solid this season, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I do think he's gonna earn me a lot of points. And just out of curiosity, how many points did he earn last season? My computer's not working. Yeah, there we go. 120. So he's around. Yeah, he's there. So there are a lot of players who earn more points than him. But for this season, I think Koscielny will do the job. My fourth defender is Jagielka from Everton, of course, and he's right there. He is the third highest scoring defender, along with Nathaniel Klein. And the reason I picked him was because Everton, it's similar to Arsenal actually. They've always been really, really good from the beginning, like the first 1 or 2 months. Historically, they've been really great. In fact, last season, if you remember, Chelsea had an amazing game, 6-3 against Everton. And I know Chelsea did score 6 against them, but they scored 3 goals against Chelsea, and Chelsea were really, really, top form last year. So I do think Everton are going to do well, and Everton's defenders do have a history, with Jagielka, Dastan, Coleman, what's his name? What's his first name? Wow, I forgot his name. Yeah, Baines and Leighton Baines. There we go, Leighton Baines. Yeah, they do have a history of scoring a lot of goals. So I'm hoping that Jagielka is going to be able to get that odd goal here and there and stack up the points tally. And as you see, he did very well last season, so I have faith in him for this season. And my final defender is similar to Mark Schwarzer in that I just went to the cheapest price and picked the one with the most points. Moving on to my midfield, we begin with someone a bit controversial, Raheem Sterling. I personally think £50 million is overpriced for Sterling, but I do think he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, he has loads of potential, and I think I said this before, but if John Stones is worth £30 million, then Sterling, I think he is worth £50 million, because that's just how prices are inflated for English players. But I do think he's very, very talented, Sterling. And a lot of people are saying he's going to flop, he's going to fail. I don't think that. I think he's going to score a lot of goals, get over 10-15 goals in the Premier League. And I think, especially the first few months, he's going to do really well. Because, you got to remember, I'm looking at the short term with this team. It's the very, very short term, not the long term, the short term. Because I can always change the team every week. But this is, who I think is going to do well for the first few weeks. And, of course, they're against West Bromwich Albion, so hopefully they'll score a lot of goals. And the next game's against Chelsea, but we'll get to that bridge when we cross it, if you get my pun, because Stamford Bridge, but that was a terrible pun. Nevertheless, there's Sterling. And secondly is Fabregas. Fabregas, do I even need to explain? He's a phenomenal player. And Fabregas, actually, for the last decade of his career, not just last season, the last decade, he's had a history. Maybe it's because he came up through the Arsenal's youth academy, but he does have a history of kind of declining over the second half, but playing really well in the first half. Like, if I remember correctly, last season he had like 16 or 17 assists in the first 3 months, and then he's had 2 assists in the last 3 months or the last 5 months, which kind of just tells you, is he gonna do well over the long term? I don't know, but I think definitely for the first 3 months, if you don't have Fabregas in your team, then you're just dumb. I just think he's going to be so sensational. Lots of assists, maybe even a goal every now and then. And of course, Chelsea will be keeping a bunch of clean sheets as well, so he'll be stacking out the points like that. And this is an interesting one, IB. But before I talk about him, let me just get to Mane and Ozil, because they're like my first choice. My Sterling, Fabregas, Mane, and Ozil were the first players I picked. And the IB was just someone I put in for the price. But I'll talk a bit more about him. Mane. Where is he? He's here. Mane was someone who, over the first half of last season, he was similar to Gareth Kane. No, Harry Kane. In that the first half of the season, he was kind of non-existent. Or maybe, no, if I'm right, Mane wasn't even in the Premier League. Let me just check. Mane, Southampton. When did he transfer? I'm pretty sure he transferred in the January window. Actually, don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, the second half of last season, he was sensational. And he even got a goal against Chelsea, I think, if I remember correctly. And Mane was just really, really well, playing well, scoring goals. In fact, I think he scored the fastest hat-trick ever in a Premier League last season, which is a great accomplishment for him. So I think he's going to get off to a good start, especially being in Southampton, who are known for playing well in the first few months. And I do think he's going to get a lot of goals and stack up a lot of points. And finally, Ozil. I think Ozil is kind of a Fabregas type of player, and that he's more of a player that gets points from assists than scoring goals. And Arsenal, as I've said repeatedly, as much as it hurts me, I do think they're going to get off to a good start this season. And Ozil, I think, similarly to Fabregas, over the first few months, he's going to be very, very effective. He's going to be stacking up a lot of points. And to be honest, in the winter transfer window, I might change Fabregas and Ozil because the second half of the season, I don't think they're going to do nearly as well as the first half. But we'll see what happens until then. We'll see their current run of form, and I'll decide then. But for now, I do have a lot of faith in Fabregas and Ozil, and I do think they're going to be the two highest, the two top points earning players in terms of midfielders for the first 3 months until the winter transfer window. But we'll see what happens. And we get to Ivy. Ivy's actually not even here. Let's see how many points he earned last season. He earned 21 points, which isn't a lot. Oh, sorry guys. Firstly, Ivy, the reason I did pick him is because of the price. He's cheap. I could have gotten a cheaper player, but 4.5 and 5 is basically the same thing. So I thought I'd bump up just that extra 0.5 million to get someone of a bit of quality. And I do think Ivy, this is going to be maybe not his breakthrough season, but it's going to be the season where he does step up, gets his opportunity to shine, gets some minutes, and I do think he's going to get goals, he's going to get assists, and he's going to get involved with the play of Liverpool. And I think for £5 million, I think Ivy is going to be one of those dark horses. You know, the players that you don't think you just overlook, but he ends up surprising you. And to be honest, he will be sitting on my bench for most of the season, for most of the Fantasy Premier League season. But when I do play him, if someone's suspended or injured or whatever, and he does have to step on, I'm hoping that he can do a good job and get some points for me. And that wraps up my midfield. Let's get to the strike, and let me start with Harry Kane. Harry Kane, obviously, you can see there, 191 points last season, only surpassed by Aguero. And Costa, I do think he could have gotten up there if he didn't get injured for the last 2 months. But I think Harry Kane, a lot of people are saying last season was a one-off, it was a fluky season, and he's just going to kind of dip this season. I don't believe that. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to continue his development. He might not be, in fact, I can almost guarantee you this, he's not going to be as goal-scoring as last season. Because last season, he was literally scoring at least 1 or 2 goals every single game, which is how he scored, which is how he became the second top scorer in the Premier League in the space of playing for only 5 months or so. Which is just crazy if you think about it. But, you know, of course he's not going to score as many. But I do think he will score. He's going to be in the top 3 or 4 top goal scorers by the end of the season. Because he will score. And for 9.5, you know, I would have preferred to go someone like Aguero or Costa. I'll be honest with you. But Harry Kane was just the more affordable option. And that's why I picked him. And my third player is Pele, and as you can see, he's 4th right there. And Pele was one of those players in the first half of last season. It's typical of Southampton. No disrespect to Southampton, it's just an observation I'm making. The first half of last season, he was amazing. I think he was actually maybe 1st or 2nd, and Costa was 1st maybe, but I think Pele was 2nd in terms of the points for forwards by halfway through of last season, by the winter transfer window, basically. Because Southampton were just flying. Pele, and he was a big part of that, scoring lots of goals for them. And then he kind of just disappeared in the second half. And if that is the case, I don't really care. I only care about the temporary with this team, and I think Pele will perform, you know, very, very well for the first 2 or 3 months of this season. And he'll get a lot of goals, and hopefully rack up a lot of points for me, as I've said a lot of times this video. And those are my 2 strikers, and Naismith was the player that I had to kind of, you know, get for cheap. And you may be wondering, why didn't I get Graham or Mnez. You know, they look like decent players. But I kind of bumped it up a little bit and kind of looked at the bigger picture. And Naismith, I do see a lot of potential in him as a substitute. Because last season, let me tell you this. Last season, when I was building my team, I saw Naismith and I was like, I think he could be really good. But my brain told me, no, it's better to go with a safer player, a more well-known player. So I did that, and I didn't pick Naismith. And then the first month or two of Everton last season, Naismith was scoring every single game, and I regretted it so much last season. So that I don't have that regret again, I picked Naismith here. I do think he will, score the odd goal here and there, but he will be on my bench for most of the fantasy Premier League season. But I do think he will get a few goals, and as a substitute for someone who's worth £5.5 million, I think he's a very, very good bet. And that's my whole team, guys. Actually, let me tell you this as well. If you go back to pick team, you can pick your captain and vice captain as well. And basically, your captain it'll double his amount of points, the amount of points that he accumulates in that week. So Mesut Ozil and Fabregas, I think they're going to be the highest the point earning players or midfielders by halfway through the season. And that's why I put them as captain, vice captain. And you may be wondering why I put Ozil as captain and Fabregas as vice captain. And that's because Chelsea currently and Arsenal currently are very, very different. And by the way, you can change your captain and vice captain anytime you want for free. No, you don't have to pay any of your squad money or anything. It's for free, so you can change it every single week. But right now, looking at the Community Shield, looking at our entire preseason of the two teams in general, Arsenal have been the more creative side. Arsenal have been the better side. Arsenal have been the more goal-scoring, goal-creating side. And I do think Mesut Ozil will rack up more points in terms of game week 1. In terms of game week 1. And we're both playing at home against relatively small sides, but I do think Swansea will put up a game. They're not going to be easy to beat, and historically Swansea have done very well in Stamford Bridge. I mean in recent history, they've done well in Stamford Bridge, so that could be an interesting game. And West Ham, I think Arsenal are just going to beat them 3 or 4-0, to be honest with you. I do think Chelsea will beat Swansea as well. My prediction, 2-0, just saying. But we'll see what happens with Arsenal. But I do think Ozil is going to earn a lot of points. And maybe I should put Cech, because I think he's going to keep a clean sheet. And that's 5 or 6 points for clean. You know what? I'll think about this later. But that's my team for now. Please, it'll be really interesting to see what you guys do. And what team you guys pick, how you guys do throughout the season. And because of that, I'm going to be creating a league. So what you do is, if you want to join my league, you got to go on leagues, wait for your internet page to load, and once it does load, you got to go on join a league, private league, next, and then you got to enter the private league code. Right now, I haven't made a league, so I'm going to create a new league. I'm going to make... Should I make a classic or a head-to-head? What's the difference? Classic, head-to-head. I'm gonna make a head-to-head league. I'm gonna make a classic league. Wait, the overall ranked against all the players. You play a game each round. Your score versus the opponent score 3 points. That could be interesting, head-to-head. I'm gonna go head-to-head, guys. I'm feeling it. Choose the type of league you'd like to create. Yes. No, you know what? Check classic. Let's go. The name of the classic league is gonna be BlueTube League. That's such a boring name. You know what? BlueTube League. Keep it simple. Simple is good. Scoring starts game week 1. Create classic league, and it should generate the code. Come on. Is it gonna load? There we go. Code to join this league. It's right here. I'm gonna copy and paste this into the description down below, so that you guys can just easily copy and paste that into the league join table thing. And it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be really fun to play with you guys. I really hope this is an opportunity for us to interact on another level, and just to see how we think each player is gonna do, and it'll be really interesting to see who comes out on top at the end of the season. So I will leave this in the description down below. Let me just get back to my team. So just as an overview, this was my team. I'd love to know what yours is. I think I don't know, if you can take a screenshot of it with like something like Gyazo, and Gyazo is an application that lets you take screenshots and upload them onto the internet, and then you can leave the link in the comment section down below, and then I can see the different teams that you have and the different opinions that you have. That could be really interesting. As I said, another transfer talk video will be coming out later today, so look out for that if you're interested in that. And thanks for watching, and until the transfer talk video, stay blue.